I think in this climate right now, the way things are going, saying you are the experienced candidate is a major albatross around your neck.
It's tough out there if you're running as part of the establishment. The anti-incumbent mood is bipartisan, and we went to two crucial states that vote on May 18th. What we found was a divide on both sides between pragmatism, idealism, and opportunity. Voters in Arkansas and Kentucky will help chart the direction for both Democrats and Republicans as they face rocky political terrain nationwide.
One word? I mean, I think angry is probably the most accurate description.
I would say instead of anger, it's really more fear.
Democrats are watching the primary race in Arkansas closely. Two-term Senator Blanche Lincoln is being challenged from the left by Bill Halter, the state's lieutenant governor. Jeff Zeleny traveled there to see how the race is developing.
Senator Lincoln is known as one of the centrist, moderate, even conservative Democrats in the Senate. And she is finding now that in a Democratic primary, a lot of these votes that she's made are coming back to haunt her.
You know, you get the left who maybe has idealized some of the things that they want to accomplish and the amount of time they want to accomplish them in.
What's interesting about this race is that MoveOn.org, a lot of liberal groups are really getting behind Bill Halter. And he now is forcing a very strong primary challenge from the left.
The thing I hear more than anything else is Washington is not on my side. The power of special interests have dictated too much of what's going on.
Is the Democratic Party as big and broad as it used to be, or is it defined more by the left? Voters in Arkansas, of all places, will weigh in with at least some of the answer to that question.
The test case on the right is in Kentucky. Two candidates there are vying to replace retiring Senator Jim Bunning. Kentucky Secretary of State Trey Grayson is seen as the establishment candidate, but he's fallen behind Tea Party favorite Rand Paul, the son of libertarian-leaning former presidential candidate Ron Paul. Kate Zernike visited to take a look at this closely watched race.
It's the first race, or the best race nationally, where we're going to see whether the Tea Party movement is going to have a real impact and what kind of an impact it will have, particularly on the Republican Party, and whether a Tea Party candidate can win.
How many people here who have ever been to a Tea Party? I'd say this might be a Tea Party event then.
Yeah, Brent's part, because Brent was in your class, right?
Trey Grayson is sort of a classic old-fashioned politician. Not that he's very old, he's 37 years old, but he really worked his way up through politics in a very old-fashioned way.
You know, as a quasi-incumbent, somebody described me as a quasi-incumbent the other day, I get some of the baggage of being an elected official.
Ultimately, the Tea Party success is going to come down to the ballot box, their win-loss record. And so they're really looking to Rand Paul to make a statement about how much force they have and how much influence they can have in national politics.
In some ways, these races are mirror images of each other. Both the incumbents, or quasi-incumbents rather, are sticking with their credentials and trying to buck the public mood. Blanche Lincoln's powerful position in the Senate is one of her key selling points, although the message's effectiveness is in doubt.
Yes, I've worked so hard to get into places where I could be helpful to Arkansas. I want to ensure that the chairmanship of the Senate Agriculture Committee is not considered something that is just mine. It is ours.
I'm not sure that that's a great benefit. It certainly doesn't override her not being a solid Democrat.
It's very difficult for me because I know them both and I like them both. But I think I'm ready for a big change. I really am leaning towards Bill because I want to send Washington a message.
Similarly in Kentucky, Trey Grayson can't or won't run away from the establishment. He touts an endorsement by Dick Cheney and has a message largely centered on being able to govern effectively.
You know, I'm not going to deny the fact that as an incumbent, I have relationships with sort of a lot of the party regulars. But this is a race about who's going to be the best in Washington.
I think that's the problem. We've got too many quote-unquote experienced politicians.
Among the challengers, there's a key difference. Both have raised millions of dollars outside of established fundraising channels. And in Kentucky, Mr. Paul wears his Tea Party affiliation with pride.
It's not like a card you can sign up. If there was, I'd be a member.
But in Arkansas, with a tradition of moderate Democrats, Mr. Halter avoids the liberal label when he visits places like the Western Sizzler in Springdale.
people want to define this race as a left-right race and all this other stuff. That's not what this is about.
You know, most of the folks that I'm talking with in Arkansas, they're not asking me, 15 bullet-pointed questions and some ideological checklist. They want to know something more basic and more from the gut.
There are questions about the electability of both of these challengers in a general election. Bill Halter needs to get beyond his base of liberals.
1, 2, 3,
go Bill! Is he too liberal for the state of Arkansas, do you think?
It's not too liberal for me.
In Kentucky, a Rand Paul victory would mean that the Tea Party will prove itself as a true electoral force. To do that, though, he needs to get beyond the 18% or so of Americans who associate themselves with the movement.
Without the Republican Party, if there was to be a Tea Party emerge, I think they would divide the Republican vote and they would lose.
Both Arkansas and Kentucky will vote in a little over 5 weeks, and political observers will be watching closely.
Just because you're mad at elected officials and mad at a lot of the incumbents, you got to make the right election choice.
I'm a strong Democrat. I've always been a Democrat. I will win or lose a Democrat.
I don't know. I think we're in for a kick, you know what, race.